That's the thing. That's the sense I get, that people in this region, that is the Basque country, tend to be more satisfied with the current arrangements, while Catalans still can't quite come to terms. And they perceive the central government as too tyrannical, some of them, right? While in the Basque country you get a sense that they are largely satisfied with the current arrangement.
Yeah, but the problem is that, against the kind of stories that the Spanish government likes to tell about itself, or to spin the story about itself and its legitimacy, it's not that straightforward. There are inheritances from times preceding the current Spanish Republic that go back a long time. We don't have to start with prehistoric times, but let's just look at, let's say, the course of the 19th century. Spain is in a mess. Basically, the liberal arrangements through the liberal republic, because liberalism in Spain was introduced with the help of French troops from the republic.
Yes.
So, needless to say, people think, what kind of freedom is this that's being delivered?
Napoleonic War.
Yeah, that's been delivered by French troops, who then, basically helped with the support of the French, the first or second constitution it is, I think, been set up, a liberal constitution, which didn't work very long. In the 19th century, it's a total mess. We have ongoing wars.
We're talking about early 19th century.
Throughout the 19th century, it's never been resolved. You have 3 Carlist wars. You ask any, even Spanish historian and specialists on the issue, inherently complex to understand, because you have elements
but that's all too European, isn't it? There are messy stories of nation building across Europe, 19th century, right?
Absolutely.
And as you said, the result is a fairly complex but solidified appearance of nation states. The French story, if we fast forward to the 20th century, is complicated by the Franco's dictatorship and the messy civil war that is followed by Franco's dictatorship. But the usual story you read in EU textbooks is that by the time the Spaniards free themselves of Franco, enter the European Union, the liberal democratic traditions become firmly anchored in the EU, and there the EU or its predecessor plays a stabilizing.
Well, it's a lie that people like to. That's the official line of maybe the Spanish and the European government to justify their actions. The story in reality is much more complex. So if we take a closer look at, once the Second World War is over, Franco is still in power. Now, everybody who was resistant to the Franco regime hoped that with the end of the Second World War, Franco would be history as well.
Yes.
Well, then we have about an intermediate period of 5 to 7, 8 years in which the Cold War becomes a crucial feature. And in the Cold War, suddenly Franco's Spain becomes acceptable.
Because the US is keen to have a strong ally.
A strong ally, then Franco Spain is allowed to become part of the United Nations.
And the focus is on containing the spread of the Soviet empire,
sure,
right?
Against communism.
And Franco had strong anti-communist credentials.
Absolutely. And he played that card, or the government of Franco played that part quite well, and played the European Union. And within that, the Basque country has a very unique place. It was probably the most anti-Franco, but most pro-European party.
I see.
The Basque Nationalist Party, the PNV, was a crucial element in the founding moments of the European Union. 20, 30 years later, all forgotten.
No one wants to know about it.
Nobody wants to know about it, about the complications.
Because it undermines the
logic of the
centralized
nation state.
And that is the point that you stated at the outset, that the EU focuses too much on nation states, so much so that even history is constructed to fit that.
Absolutely. It's a story that, look, if you're successful, that's a story you like to spin about yourself. And to a certain extent, it has worked. It has worked. It's not like, I'm not saying it has no power. It has. And to a certain extent, both sides have moved to a certain extent. But as we've seen there are moments when the wish for autonomy or more independence, independence-like government in Scotland, Catalonia, are rampant, and how the European Union basically says, can't be, we can't have that now. We can have former communist parties entering, but not
former communist countries.
Entering as nation
like
states.
Croatia or Slovenia, minuscule.
Baltic republics.
Yes.
Next time Kosovo, right?
Yes.
Or Bosnia Herzegovina. Yes. So why do they have the right and others don't, who have a much longer history?